What is up, guys? Basic Battles here today, and I really hope my fan doesn't interrupt this video. But I need to talk about the UFC matchmaking, because good lord, it is a talking point. So, Dana White went live on Thanksgiving. Happy holidays to those who celebrate, by the way. And he announced the first card for the UFC Paramount deal, 324. He also was live on Instagram at the same time to announce more fights for that card and the main event for 325. And let's just say there's some controversy. Now, I'm mostly going to talk about the matchmaking, but before we start, we can talk about the placement on the card. Is it weird that an interim title fight is headlining one of the biggest women's fights of all time? Yes, but people would have complained endlessly because for some reason Nunes versus Harrison doesn't excite some people, which is weird to me. It's one of the most hyped up women's fights in history. I think if they made that the main event, I wouldn't have been too mad. But what are you gonna do? People would have complained endlessly about it anyways. So their solution is to put two undeserving contenders against each other for an interim belt, even though the champion's not hurt and hasn't vacated. Makes sense. Anyways, let's talk about the actual matchmaking. Justin Gaethje is... what is he? He's like 1-1 in his last two fights. I think he's that, or 2-1. Yeah, because he beat Fiziev. Obviously got flatlined by Max. He beat Dustin before that. What was before that? Was before that the Fiziev fight? And then, yeah, all right. Okay. So he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and 2 of those are decisions against the number 12 guy in the division. And another's a knockout over DP, which is cool, but he got flatlined against Max, who didn't get an interim title shot. Which I guess, he already lost to Topuria, so giving him another opportunity to fight him, or potential, maybe not swung. Maybe they don't like that. Maybe the UFC doesn't like that. But then you have the other flat side of the coin. Paddy Pimblett. His best win is Michael Chandler, who's 2-5 in the UFC. Shouldn't even be ranked, if we're being completely honest, because he's beaten Dan Hooker and he's beaten Tony Ferguson, and that's it. He's lost to every other fighter he's fought, one of them twice. Yeah. So, his other wins are robbery against Jared Gordon, King Green, who's okay. Who else? Tony Ferguson. And I can't think. Yeah. That's his recent wins. That's his major wins, Paddy Pimblett. And he somehow climbed, after that win versus Michael Chandler, he climbed to number 10, and then he climbed all the way up to a top 5 position without taking another fight. Very, very interesting stuff from the UFC rankings committee, or whatever they're called, and the matchmakers, and everyone. It seems like he had a... what do you call it? A industry plant title shot, as they call it. So people are rightfully pissed, because maybe it wouldn't be too bad. Maybe it wouldn't be too bad if, they didn't have a number 1 contender to fight for an interim belt. But they do. They do. They literally do. He just fought. He just said he would fight Ilya in January. You could use that and say, hey, you can fight for the interim title in January. And I'm talking about Arman Sayukin, by the way. Dana White said himself that Arman versus Dan Hooker was a title eliminator, and now he is saying that Gaethje versus Paddy will fight Ilya. Interesting. So instead of just doing Nunes Harrison as the main event, they don't even have to sell pay-per-views anymore, by the way. They don't even have to sell pay-per-views, by the way. It is a subscription service that millions of people already own. And millions of UFC fans are going to purchase specifically just to be on the program. just to have the UFC fights, all of them. So I feel like the first card is going to be successful no matter what. But anyways, and I'm sure they could have found another event. They couldn't have just had the Volk fight be the first event. It had to be in Vegas. It had to be this. Because Patty versus Gaethje's fine as a title limiter, honestly. I'm not even mad at it. Of course, Patty was going to get this industry plant energy around him. Of course he was. So it's fine. And Gaethje's begging for a title. Just give him a title eliminator. You don't need to put a belt on it. You don't need to put a spin on it. Gaethje literally said he was going to retire if he didn't get a title shot, and he didn't. This is not a real title shot. It's an interim title. He has to fight Paddy Pimblett. If he considers that a legit title shot, then should have just got him, honestly. But yeah. They could have just done Nunes-Harrison main event. Paddy Gaethje 5-round co-main, just like they did for Paddy versus Chandler. It was a 5-round co-main. It was a good move. And that could have been that. And nobody would complain right now. And then you do Ilya versus Arman in March or April, whenever he comes back. Perfect. Perfect. Literally perfect. But they didn't do that. They messed it all up. And I haven't even gotten to Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. I've talked too much about Paddy Pimblett. I'm moving on. Volk versus Diego Lopez. UFC featherweight division has two undefeated contenders. And I was about to say coming off wins. Like, they're both undefeated. Of course they're coming off wins. But Lerone Murphy's coming off an arguable knockout of the year against the opponent that Movsar Evloev was supposed to fight in a title eliminator. You can call him, Aaron Pico undeserving of a title eliminator. You can do that all you want. But it's still, it's still a big name and a big win for Lerone Murphy, especially considering he took it on 2 weeks' notice and did that to him in the first round. And he's undefeated, and he hasn't fought Volk. And that's that. And Movsar Evloev has already beaten Diego Lopez, short notice or not. He already beat him. He already beat Arnold Allen. He beat Aljo. Who else? He has multiple ranked wins. And I am fine with Diego Lopez's resume. He gave Volk a tough fight. He lost to him pretty clearly, but he still dropped him. He still was an excellent fight. I wouldn't even be mad if there wasn't contenders above him that Volk has literally asked to fight for a year now. Since halfway through the year. He wanted to fight them in December. But they waited all this time so he could headline Sydney. And maybe they caught wind of him because there's been a rumor going around that he wants this to be his retirement fight in Sydney, in his hometown, in his backyard. Which is completely understandable, He's old. He's already done this song and dance with the featherweight, being active and doing all that, defending the belt a lot. He's already tried lightweight, didn't work out for him. He's got nothing left to prove. He's the featherweight GOAT, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions too. So instead of giving him another undefeated written name to add to his resume, they are trying to screw him. They're trying to have Lopez chin him and send him out the only way that they want to. It's kind of scummy by the UFC. And I'm not even mad at Diego Lopez. Of course she's going to say yes. He's getting a title shot. And he had a very impressive win against Sean Silva. He dominated him in the first round. He got touched up a little in the second round, and he finished him spectacularly in a crazy, crazy fight of the year contender. So good for him. Here's what they should have done, in my opinion. They should have just given it to Lerone. Give him, he's got the hot name off of the one of the best finishes of the year. And then Diego versus Movsar 2 for the vacant belt if Volk wins. And if Lerone wins, then you give it to, you could still do that fight, Diego versus Movsar. I'm sure that would be a great fight. Movsar's calling out Lerone anyway. He's going to fight again now because they did this with Diego. So they just wasted someone's O. When it could have been him versus Diego, and then just have him versus Lerone. I don't know, man. I feel like there's multiple ways they could have gone about it to fix this, in my opinion. Like, I already told you my opinion. I think it should have been Volk versus Lerone, and then Movsar versus Diego to, rematch for the belt vacant belt, because I do think, in my opinion, I think Volk would have beaten Lerone. And hell, Lerone, I mean, Movsar versus Volk would have been a great fight too. He's literally the #1 contender in the division. He has been for like half the year now. Should have been the move, but what are you gonna do? And all this matchmaking leads to a fight that hopefully does not get announced. Kamaru Usman could potentially get a title shot against Islam Makhachev, coming off one win against the #9 guy. He's #8 in the division, a division that has Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's his name. Shavkat Rakhmonov? Yeah. I always forget how to say his last name. Anyway, Shavkat Rakhmonov, who has a win over Ian Gary, who is #2 right now because he just beat Bilal. And he's coming off a win against Carlos Prates, who is also in the top 5. And also Michael Morales, who just beat #2, Sean Brady. You know, he just knocked him out in the first round. So you have right there, just literally right there, you have Ian Gary coming on, who's top 3, has multiple top 5 wins. Shavkat Rakhmonov, who beat Ian Gary already. Michael Morales. And even Carlos Prates is a better argument for a title shot over Kamaru Usman, because he has a top 5, because he literally beat Leon, who beat Usman twice. What are we doing? Kamaru should not even, he needs 2 more fights to get to the belt. He should have fought Bilal yesterday. If he fought him before Ian Gary got to Bilal, he could have had a title shot. You know, with just the win over Bilal. But now he would have beaten Bilal, if he beats him, would have beaten him coming off 2 losses straight. It's not going to be as impressive now. So I have no idea what they're going to give him. Maybe they'll give him Carlos Prates for a title eliminator. I don't know, but he needs a fight. Here's what I think should happen in the welterweight division. I think they should give it to Ian Gary. Why not? Ian Gary or Shavkat. Give it to one of them. I don't care which one. Flip a coin if you have to. Carlos Prates versus Michael Morales as another title eliminator. It's just too stacked up right now. I'm fine with giving Morales the shot. I'm fine with giving Gary the shot. I'm fine with giving Shavkat the shot. But it's now too crowded, where you have to choose one. And if you do Kamaru, then you're log jamming everything. That whole thing. And of course, freaking Top Turo wants to come up to welterweight to fight Islam. So it's just, there's going to be a massive log jam. People care about this pound for pound stuff so much that they're clogging up divisions, and it's just so annoying. Like, yes, of course I want to see Ilya versus Islam, but I don't want to see it at the expense of the most exciting division in the sport right now. Like, I want to see Islam versus Morales and Gary and and Shavkat and Prates and all of them. I don't care if he just, you know, wrestles all of them to boring. I don't care. I still want to see it. I want to see dominant, long title reigns or exciting matchups throughout the whole thing, man. That's just me, though. That's just me. Maybe it's because Islam thinks he doesn't have long left. That's why he wants Kamaru, and then he wants Ilya, and then he wants to retire or something. Maybe that's why. I don't know. We're going to have to see, but I've already told you my opinion. I'm done ranting. Tell me your opinions in the comments. And thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.